Aries friends, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Aries June 2025 astrology horoscope forecast. I'm calling the theme of this month Tribulation, because we have 3 outer planets, Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter, changing signs. Honestly, truth be known, next month Uranus will join the party, but it's just too much to cover right now, so we'll talk about that in July. But a lot of massive change coming. I want to talk about the kinds of things that will open up for you, the time frames, and also talk about the shorter transits, the faster moving planets that will be crowding this month, and how that can affect you and what you can do with it. Also, some other very important things to know about this month that makes it special. My intention is to give you the information that will make this month the best for you. This is for you if Aries is your sun sign, your moon sign, or your rising sign like me, or any other Aries placement that you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Aries friends, so birthdays like April 15th through the rest of the sign, or Aries degrees 23 degrees through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Taurus report, as your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so in order to try to break up into organized steps the discussion for this month, I'm going to talk about some short-term things that will be just present kind of in the time around now, and that will lead us into the discussion of new things that are coming in now that will be in effect for a longer time. Something very exciting for Aries to know is that we've got a lot of short-term energy in Gemini. Hygeia, the Sun, Mercury, all moving through that sign. When signs move, or when planets move through the sign of Gemini, for Aries, they also move through the house of Gemini. So everything we talk about in these reports is doubly true for you, making everything to the nth degree for Aries, which is part of why we live so intensely. So, what does that mean? This month is going to be super busy. I mean, like super busy. The thing about rest and kind of, ease in it, just like quiet personal pursuits, that is not happening. You are going to be busy mentally. You're going to be busy physically. You're going to be busy verbally. You're going to be busy writing and moving around. Mobility is going to be very, very focused this month. You are going to be driving here and there and biking and on planes and trains and automobiles and just a lot of movement. The energetic for Gemini is an upward spiral. So remember that this month, because you will feel it, where you'll be over here. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm over here. No, doing this. I'm over here. Whereas for Aries, it's a cardinal movement. It moves in a finite direction forward, right? So you will be able to finally make a massive amount of forward movement at this time, but there will be something about it that's in little pieces, okay? Because the Gemini is going to give you a shorter attention span than usual, more distractions than usual, more balls to keep up in the air. So you will be interacting with family members, uncles, aunts, cousins. Those things will come up into the forefront. You will be thinking about your writing project, maybe launching it. You will be expressing yourself. You'll be talking to people. You'll be meeting with people. You'll have friendships and social things going on. And possibly buying new devices and possibly buying a new vehicle or something that makes you mobile. You could be buying plane tickets and traveling. A lot of travel energy happening, especially for Aries this month. So, keep your passport, keep your luggage nearby. You're probably going to be packing. There's a massive amount of information, research, learning, teaching. Information is going in, information is going out. So learning information, teaching information. It's very, very information rich at this time. You may definitely get overwhelmed. So take extra special care of your respiratory tract at this time. Gemini does rule the respiratory tract. So with all of this excess, you may need a little bit more support with your wellness as you're running in different directions at this time. Now, on the topic of making big purchases and doing big writing projects and, having key communication with people, you really couldn't have a better month for doing anything like this, because this is one of the only months of the whole year that we don't have any personal planet retrogrades or their shadow periods, and all of the outer planets except Pluto are going direct. So starting the second half of May, we really erupted into this time of massive forward movement. We got the hints of it in April. It got stronger in May. Now June is our big banner month, right? If you follow my work and you know my tide analogy that I always like to keep as a segment of what we discuss, because the tides relate to the astrological rhythms and not just the moon and the water tides, just the general rhythm. So personal planet retrogrades and retrogrades in general make us go inward and backward. So from September into April, May or so, we had very strong inward and backward energy. So the tides were coming in. So what happens if you put something on tides that are coming in, like you have a toy out there or a float or a message in a bottle or whatever it is, the tides are going to bring it back to the shore. So energetically, we're leaving a time when your best conscious activity was to stay on the beach and to wait to see what the tides bring to you rather than trying to force something on tides that are coming in, because anything you try to put out there would come right back to you. Now that time was good for experimenting, for short-term things, just for playing, relaxing, kind of playing, not anything with a real long-term or serious focus. But now that has switched. As of the middle of May, all of June, the tides are going out. So that means that your big projects, your launches, your once-in-a-lifetime, experiences, your weddings and engagements and moves and house sales and house purchases, the kind of things that you may do only once or you don't do very frequently in your life, a big contract, a publishing contract, a launch of something, starting a new business, starting a new job that you want to be in effect, anything that you want to be in effect for a long time. This is one of the best possible months. So during this time when you have all this great energy, not only for moving forward, but for clarity and ease and direction, we also have this high level of communication and many opportunities to interact with people through contractual and other agreements. So it's really perfectly aligned for Aries, and I'm very excited about it myself. Now, what I try to show you about these tides is so that you can align your energies with the natural rhythms of the universe so that you're not paddling against the tides and things can be easier for you. You can do a massive amount of research at this time as well, but this is a time to put the research into action. When the tides were going in, we were storing up, we were reflecting, we were thinking, we were clearing out, and now is the time to make decisions from those things you've been pondering for all of that time. Okay, so you'll see a lot of that energy, and all of the Gemini energy makes a great angle for Aries. So elementally, the stars are speaking your language at this time. So that's really exciting. Fire and air flows very well together. There's a lot of smoothness in the connections for Aries at this time. Okay, a couple of other points. We are out of eclipse season. So, Aries has been in the hot seat for 2 years with radical changes, ended strong with a solar eclipse. March, April, and into May, we had the storylines closing out of 2 years worth of this Aries Libra eclipse cycle. And so you see something big has happened with your relationship with yourself, with your direction in life, with your relationships with other people. And now we're in a time where that is integrating. So we have a little bit of space to breathe between eclipse cycles to integrate what has happened and prepare for what may come next. Also good to know this month is that we have just a lot of connections in the stars. So we're not busy from the eclipse perspective. We're not busy from the retrograde perspective, but we are busy from the mathematical connections that planets can make with each other that are meaningful to us on Earth. Everything in life is math. We see that intrinsic in the study of astrology, and it will be active this month. Almost 30 aspects. Almost half of those aspects are sweet. So we've got a lot of sweet bumps, but a little bit more than half are salty. And, those are nuisance bumps. Now, let me just refer you to a resource real quick and we'll get back to June. If you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, look for the area that says free VIP community, click on that, put your name and email address in, get the welcome letter, click on the archive link, and then put June 2025 astrology in the search bar in the archive. And you will get my monthly star report with all the sweet and salty dates this month, and my highlighted aspects, my favorite ones and the ones to be most awareful and careful of. We do have some outer planet connections that are very long-standing and a bunch of other nuisance aspects that you may want to kind of navigate around for your big decisions. And you may want to align your big launches with some of these of my favorite dates. And there are some really good ones. Okay, so that's how you get more info about that. Okay, so we've got a little longer of Venus in Aries. This is a nice blessing. This is making you more charming more magnetic. If you've got something that you want to tell people or something that you want from life or from someone, your case may be better heard at this time, especially in the early part of June. So that's exciting. Then Venus will move on from there and will leave a massive amount of outer planet energy still in Aries. So really just to understand a chart better when you're looking at it and like, what the heck am I looking at? There are short-term influences and there are long-term influences. The planets closer to us are faster moving, so they're shorter term influences. When there's an outer planet there, like Saturn recently moved into your sign Aries, Neptune recently moved into your sign Aries, well, Ceres is a short-term one. That'll be there for a little while. Venus is short-term. Eris, super crazy long-term. And Chiron, very long-term as well. So we've got now 1, 2, 3, 4 outer planets in the sign of Aries. This is bringing radical change, and some of it may be very noticeable, but a lot of it is on the inner planes, the unconscious levels where you create from. So this is a very big deal. Now, last month we featured Neptune in Aries because that is a big key change. Hasn't been in Aries since the end of the 1800s, and will be in Aries for 14 years. So you can look back to my May report to get more details about that as well. You can look for Neptune in Aries, Annie Botticelli on my podcast or on YouTube to have a deep dive into that transit. But it's an activating force. So this triple activation, this Neptune point is one of those activating forces. You know, this is a time when your spiritual warrior awakens, where the blending of your intuition with your action is becoming a more cohesive force in your life rather than being a force that divides you. It's a force that's unified within you. And now Saturn joins the party, second activating force of these three that I'm referring to. Saturn in Aries will be there for a few years, a lot less time than Neptune, but still a very powerful process that has to do with getting really clear about who you are, who you want to be, where you are in that process, and what you have to do to make strong, long-lasting results in your identity and what you want to show the world. This is going to have a lot to do with changing your relationship with your body. This is going to have a lot to do with healing, basically birth trauma, things that happened to you when you were born or in the early years of your life that got imprinted upon you and have been repeating. So there's a lot of work to be done in healing your foundational world that is echoing out into this time. And a time to bring physical mastery and discipline to your pursuits of how people know you and your pursuits with your relationship with your body. Now, this can also be, if you're old enough for this, a culmination of the last 28 to 30 years of something that you've been doing. You may be going through a major life change right now. So maybe kids are moving out of the house. Maybe, you're getting divorced. Maybe you're, getting married. There's something particular about these transits, the Saturn and Neptune ones, that have to do with your relationship with yourself and your relationship with other people. Saturn tests relationships. So if your relationship has been under duress for a long time, this could crack it away or open, or it can bring you to the next level with that person. If Saturn feels that this is a long-term investment for you and has what it takes to stay in the long term, Saturn is going to help you anchor in and build these relationships. So very key people can come in at this time. And like I said, because the energy is very new, even though you can have people come in from the past, this is a very key time for building new relationships. And Gemini is bringing all this energy of friendship and social circles and, interactions with people. So, you may have some people come in now that you will know for the rest of your life and will factor in very importantly into your life. Okay, so after a very long time of Mars being in Cancer and Leo because of the Mars retrograde process, this month Mars is going to move into Virgo, which for Aries is also in the house of Virgo, which is the 6th house, and this has to do with your health. The Aries house that we talked about also has to do with your physical body, and health things can certainly come into play there. But the 6th house has to do with the habits that you have that reflects into your health, your practitioners, your routines, your supplements, your diet. All of that is going to be of strong focus. As Mars gets there, it will bring your obsession. And Mars is your ruler. So we always want to know what is going on with Mars, especially because it takes on greater significance for Aries. So I always like to say where Mars goes, obsession flows, and you will see yourself become obsessed with Virgo types of things. Your health, your daily experience, organizing, getting good systems, pets, animals, anything having to do with getting really efficient and having people or apps or something help you to get organized and to straighten out your space and get things flowing really, really, really well. So you'll see a lot of energy go towards that. And fortunately, with all this Gemini energy, you will have a lot of energy to do that, from the astrological perspective. Now, speaking of which, if your energy levels have been low and you don't know why, you may have some breakthroughs this month in figuring out why your energy levels are low. Really important thing and very foundational to my teaching is to please don't dismiss symptoms. I am an astrologer, but I have a massive history in mainstream and alternative wellness, and it always is incorporated into my work because astrology is holistic. It affects every area of our lives, our business, our family, our health, our lifestyle. Everything is experienced through the lens of astrology. And from the wellness perspective, I have a lot to offer here. So you will see that I include these things in the reports. So if you're having symptoms, please figure out what they are rather than just trying to make them go away, because symptoms are the body's language of telling you that it needs something or it needs you to do something differently. And sometimes those start out as slight symptoms and then they turn into a roar, but you can prevent that if you start to get into a relationship with your body. If you have a little cold and you take an antihistamine and that's different from you having chronic allergies. That's an ongoing long-term problem that your body is telling you that it needs some support. Things like that. And with Mars in the 6th house, this may be the time where you start to become fluent in the language of your symptomology. So it would be a very, very great pursuit to use this energy that way. And it can really give you more energy levels, find out what's going on there and just help you to live your best life. Okay, so in the days around June 11th, we've got the full moon in Sagittarius. This is super favorable for Aries. It not only happens in the sign of Sag, it also happens in the house of Sag. You may be finding that you are going somewhere far away or not so far, but just taking a general trip or getting your passport or buying tickets for a future trip, because this is a travel bug instigator. So that's going to be very, very, very powerful time for adventures, near and far. And also the topic of education is very, very, very strong this month. Gemini and Sag are opposing energies, but they are complementary energies as well. And they're all about teaching and learning, taking in information and putting it out. So if you want to look for your perfect course on any topic, this is an amazing time. If it happens to be astrology that you want to learn, go to beastropro, beastropro.com, and see my astrology certification course. But anything else that you want to study, this is an amazing time for that as well. If you want to start teaching or launch an online school or teach classes locally, this is also an amazing time. And that full moon in the days around the 11th can be a great launch pad. Also, when you go to anniehelpsyou.com and get the free newsletter and get the sweet and salty dates, as I described before, you can see the other really great aspects this month that you can align your efforts with for these new things. Okay, so let's go on to the third part of the triple activation now, and along with it, so June 9th, Jupiter will move into Cancer for a year until June 2026. And then on June 25th, we'll have the new moon at 4 degrees of Cancer. So a lot of Cancer energy. Both of these things are happening within the 4th house of Cancer for Aries, making it all doubly true. And this is all about home and family and housing and real estate. And you will be really focused on yours. Now, you may have already seen these trends starting to happen in the last 3 months. I see a 3-month before a Jupiter sign change of a period where the work for Jupiter in the next year is going to start to become more obvious in the 3 months before it actually gets to where it's going next. Okay, so you may have seen this tremendous focus on home and family and housing. And for some of you, this can wind up being very dramatic. A big ending to a housing situation, a big sale or someone in your family, like selling your family home, something going on with your mom, could also be dad, because it could be any family member, but there's a strong association with mom, you as a mom, your mom, maternal figures here in this Cancer energy, and something having to do with housing. So You may be welcoming a new member into the family. There may be a pregnancy. There may be a roommate. There may be an in-law. You may be getting married. Jupiter tends to amplify and expand. So it's amplifying and expanding the energy of home and housing and real estate. Now, if you want to understand more about how this has affected you before, let's go back to when it happened before, and then you can see how your home and housing and real estate were affected. So June 2013 through July 2014, we'll give a 3-month orb before, so we'll say March 2013 through July 2014. What happened then? Did you have something notable happen where you added to your family size? Did you move? I know I did. I moved across the country at that time, and that is very, very common because when we have an outer planet on one of the major cusps of the chart, which I'm going to call it the Big Four, which is the first house cusp, you can see they're darker than these other ones. And if you're podcast friends, I do post the chart picture as the thumbnail on my Buzzsprout site. I don't think it syncs over to Spotify, but if you look for Annie Botticelli Astro Kisses Buzzsprout, you will see the chart as the thumbnail in that listing of my podcast if you want to have a visual about this. But basically, if you're looking at this like a clock, the 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 6 o'clock times in the chart are the big cusp points, and they are the parts where when outer planets, the ones that move more slowly, cross those lines, we are at a crossroads. So what just happened? Saturn just is crossing that point. Neptune is crossing that point. And Jupiter is crossing that point. Now, early degree placements. Okay, so those of you who are March born or in the 0 to, 5 to 7 degrees, you all will be experiencing a different layer, possibly of intensity of this activation, but all Aries placements from the whole house perspective may notice this crossroads happening at this time. It's a very big energy and you have it in triplicate. All right, so this is happening. So me versus we, then we have home versus work, your place in the inner world, or the outer world, your parents, your mom and dad energy, of your own paternal energy, being a parent, your place in the world, and your place in your home and your inner world. All of that is going through a major change. And with any luck and, focus, a major upgrade, because that is the possibility. These new cycles can upgrade everything for you. And you can also think back to the time before 2013 to 2014. So like April 2001 through August 2002. What did you do then? What was important about this? I can tell you for me, I started a real estate business. This is the real estate house I was just telling you. And that real estate business got me out of the golden handcuffs of my corporate job. And I have been doing this kind of work that you see me doing now ever since. That's a 24-year cycle ago for me. And that's just one of the ways that Aries can have this energy happen. Focus on real estate, focus on house-based business, focus on working from home, important things that go on. I also moved at both of those points. You may find that energy. Also remember that Jupiter expands freedom. So whatever feels like freedom to you, that could be subjective. For some people, feeling like freedom is, going out to the country and living there with more space. And some of you, freedom is going to a city and having options. But whatever your subjective experience of freedom is, that's what Jupiter is looking to provide over the next year is, a more subjective freedom. Okay, so we are in a crazy time for humanity where all of the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus next month, but like I said, I couldn't talk about that all at once, it's just too much. We'll talk about that in July. And then recently Pluto. All of these outer planets are changing signs within a short amount of time. This puts humanity at a crossroads, major crossroads, for doing things differently, for having new phases and new eras being brought in, globally and individually. If you want to see how those outer planet changes are affecting you personally, go to Annie B. Clarity, Annie, the letter B, clarity.com, and see my outer planet transit report. I do give you more details on the general transits of each of these planets, where they were, where they're going. But then I also give you your personal, based on your personal chart, where and the dates that these planets are going to be and where they are and for how long, so that you understand what's going on for you. If you want to learn astrology, go to anniehelpsyou.com, or actually you can go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. See my astrology certification course. It's a fantastic time to start studying or to deepen studying something that you're interested in. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.